So we're gonna start this thing, all right.
Welcome to Tip on Top of the Tip. I am Zenitra Perry.
And I am INEZ Chimangariso.
Hello, good morning, and happy Friday.
Happy Friday, y'all. Welcome to the tip. How you doing?
Girl, I'm doing pretty good. Trying to make sure we don't end up with a bunch of feedback again like we
I was
used
gonna say,
back in the day.
right, exactly. We were recording these things.
Now we're supposed to be past that.
Right. How was your Friday before Christmas?
You know, I am lucky in that we celebrated Christmas last weekend because my kids were going to be away. So I am breezing into the holiday weekend.
Yeah.
I don't have any of that regular stress of like, oh, I got to get the last minute things. Girl, I'm chilling.
Honey. I actually it's funny because I feel like my kids are at an age where they kind of know what's going on for Christmas, but not enough for it to be a lot. So we actually pretty chilling as well. Like we got all the Amazon. I'm sitting in the room with all the Amazon boxes of things that need to be wrapped. I still got to pick up a few things at the Target. But I'm actually really good. Like this week has been a roller coaster ride. And I'm feeling great for Friday. I'm like, I look like somebody. I did my hair, honey.
I'm out here.
Eyebrow arched. I'm like, I'm ready for the holiday. Christmas is my favorite holiday. So we're going to see a Christmas Village of Lights tonight.
Nice.
It's going to be fun and make some, traditional Christmas goodies and that type of stuff. I'm looking forward to like showing my children the stuff I used to watch when I was little for Christmas. So yeah, so I'm looking forward to this weekend. Like I am off. I'm like, I'm not doing no things other than cuddling with my family, and hanging out with my mom and my husband and my father. So yes.
Well, I'm looking forward to Christmas Eve. My whole family gets together and I'm hosting
Oh
this.
yeah.
You remember those day, girl?
Yo, Alicia's family be throwing the parties of the parties before Christmas Day.
Yes.
With the gift exchange. In fact, Tawanda saw a video. He saw a video yesterday on TikTok. He was like, babe, what kind of game is this? So it's the game where you put like the tissue box around your waist and you be popping your. I was like, I done seen that before at their Christmas party.
Yep, that was last Christmas we did that one. So we have like the Christmas Eve is really just a day for fun and games, right? So now everybody is sending me like games that they see on the internet. We're gonna have about 30 games. Like, let's play this, let's play that, let's do this. So the whole point is for us just to get together and laugh and have a good time. So we'll be doing on Sunday night. So that I am very much looking forward to. My family like to cut up. We're gonna laugh. People gonna fall over because some of these games are balanced that doesn't have. But we're gonna laugh and have us a real good time. So that I am looking forward to.
I love it. I love it. Well, let's start this thing all right with the value. We have our value that we do every time. It's like a work and life value. And somehow the value always ends up aligning with the tip some way, shape, or form.
So let's throw this in our randomizer as we always do and see what we get. Okay, today's value is faith.
Oh, well, I'm gonna let you go over first on this one.
So, okay. Normally when the values come up, right, it's a work value. It's interesting that faith is on this list of work values because in my personal life, I would have considered it more of a personal value. But as I think about faith and kind of what it means to me, it's about trust and trusting that the best thing for you will happen. And so when I think about that from a work perspective as a leader, I have to trust my team. I trust that they're going to put their best foot forward. I have faith, that they're going to do the right thing. And I hope that they trust me. And actually, that's probably where it starts, is letting them know that I have their best interests at heart, that I will advocate for them. And there has to be a certain amount of faith in me that they put in me in order for them to come and bring their full selves to work. So when I think about faith, the thing that stands out mostly is thinking about trust and trusting in a good outcome. And that
Mhm.
can be applied to work. I mean, if you enter into work with the perspective of like something's always going to go wrong, then like to me, that doesn't show that you have faith. However, I think that there is a place for those folks who are more questioning and more skeptical, if they can get to the part of solutioning. But
Mhm.
for me, faith is really about trusting that the outcome will be favorable, that a good thing will be done, even in the midst of challenges. So I can kind of see how faith can tie into work, but it took me a little second to get there.
Mhm. Mhm. Oh yeah, it definitely does. I'm like, faith is it really is a holistic principle because it comes from as I'm thinking about like in church, right? Immediately when we think about faith, you think about church, right? But a lot of the principles that are in religion, whatever religion, are foundational principles for life holistically,
Mhm.
right? And I think faith is one of those principles. It's funny when I hear the word faith, I automatically think because the church I used to go to in Philly, we had a whole series for a long time on faith. So I always think about faith being the belief of things hoped for and the evidence of things unseen, right? Because
Mhm.
I've heard that so many, so many, so many times. And I think you're correct. There's a certain level of trust that you have to have, but to me, I think people take for granted what belief means,
Mm.
right? Because we say we believe certain things, right? But a belief will show up in your actions, it will show up in your emotions, it will
Mhm.
show up in the way you think, right? And that's how you know if you really believe, right? And so for me, faith in a work setting and in life setting is like, do your actions, do the things that you're thinking that will happen, right? Do the emotions that you have align with the thought that you really are expecting what you hope for to happen,
Mm.
right? Are you really expecting what you hope for to happen? And if not, then if you don't have the faith, then it's not going to show up in all three of those areas. Um, I think, especially at work, like, when you go into certain new environments or even just environments you've been in all the time, you have to be able to work with people who may not be as easy to work with, right? Um, and you also have to, I think there's a level of belief or faith that you can be you, but also that you can handle the situations that are going to come, right? Conflict, as opposed to avoiding, like actually having the faith that you can resolve it. Um, and even like for instance, where I am right now in my life, like being someone who, was laid off earlier this year, having faith that even in that situation, that the skills that I have are transferable to wherever I want to take them, right? Having faith that, if I want to move forward in the workforce, I can do that. And having faith that if I want to move forward, in my entrepreneur life, that I can take those skills that I have and transfer them into, all areas of my life. So that's why I think about when I think about the value of faith. And I think it really is a value because um I know we talked about like how there's a energy, right? When we think about religion, there's an energy that comes with it. And I think faith is the generation of that energy in order to create the things that you want in your life. And if you don't value it, right, then it's hard to create the life that you want, basically.
Mhm. Yeah, I like you talking about belief because um it's another one of those things where it didn't seem deep to me because like I believe in myself. So like we can just move on to the next thing, right? Like I don't think about right my beliefs then informing my emotions and then my emotions then informing my actions. Um but when you think about working with different people, if they have a limiting belief in themselves, then that can show up in how they believe in you and what you're capable of doing,
Yes.
and what you're capable of doing for them, right? Because again, I'm thinking about from a kind of a leader and then from a teammate perspective. If they don't believe that they're capable of doing something, that they're capable of handling these challenges, it may then impact how they see you and what you can do for them. So building that trust, even when people don't believe in themselves, like as a leader, you
Mhm.
have to kind of overcompensate or compensate for their lack of belief, their lack of faith, their lack of trust, to create a new behavior so that they will have a new belief and a new set of emotions, and hopefully a new set of actions that goes along with that. But yeah, for myself, like believing in myself and believing in what's capable, generally speaking, is easy. And that's kind of my default. Like I can do anything,
Mhm.
right? Like
Mhm.
I mean, if given enough time, enough resources, I don't know that there's anything that I really believe that I can't do. But when you're working with other people, how they see themselves can then impact how they see you. And then that can be a limiting belief that you now have to, again,
Mhm.
overcome. So it's not
Mhm.
only about the faith that you have in yourself, but you have to consider kind of the faith that others have in themselves too, and how you guys come together to, to find solutions and work together. And move forward. So I
Mhm.
like that belief part too.
Yes. I think, it in adult life, in this adulthood, the hood, okay? Like
The hood girl.
um a faith is something that it's funny because when you're a child and you are hearing adults talk about faith and you're
Hmm.
hearing them talk about belief and you're seeing them, whether they're praying or you're seeing them encourage themselves and encourage each other, you really do take it for granted, right? You just like, okay,
Yes.
it is what it is. Like, that's just what they do.
Right.
I just, as an adult, I can see how foundational it is to have faith because life does not stop lifing once you hit a certain level of adulthood and you're like fully responsible for yourself. You're fully responsible for others. And I think it plays in heavily, especially when you're responsible for others,
Hmm.
right? So whether that's you're responsible for others in your work life, in your personal life, um the having the foundational value of faith is so important because there's a lot of things that feel out of your control, right? There are a
Hmm.
lot of things that are out of your control. There's a lot of things that feel out of your control, right? And the feeling of not having the control, especially for people that you are responsible for, can be terrifying, right?
Yeah.
Like it can be terrifying. Like, so it's funny because my mother has a saying, no news is good news, right? And basically it's just kind of like don't catastrophize, right? Don't catastrophize. Um with all the bad things that could be happening, focus on the good things that could be happening. And I think, I know that lends to a level of faith, being able to have enough faith that even the things that you can't control, right? Because there's a lot of things that we can control, but even things that you can't control, whether it's in your workplace, with your children, with your spouse, with your family, that they will work out for good, um and that they are purposeful, right? Whatever happens, that even if it doesn't turn out to be what you've hoped for, that there's a purpose for it. And I think that's really grounded in the value of faith too.
So many things start with your thoughts. My saying, I've had to say this to many people, we're not going to create negative hypotheticals. Okay. We will allow the true negativity that happens, the negative situations, the challenging situations, we'll allow those things to exist and we will respond to those. But I'm not going to waste my brain, my creative energy creating negative hypothetical situations, because they're endless. But just as endless as those thoughts are, there are endless amounts of like positive opportunities, things that you can be thinking of, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
really, how are you going to choose your creative time? How are you going to choose to use your brain time, your creative brain time?
Mm-hmm.
So to your point, like, no, don't catastrophize it, but it's like your thoughts really inform your beliefs, right? So
Oh,
if
very.
think that something bad is always going to happen, then you will end up manifesting or tapping into that energy of the negative things
Mm-hmm.
happening. So shift your belief, shift your thought so that you can believe in the positive, believe in yourself, believe in other people's abilities, and not waste so much time with the negative stuff.
That, honey, that lean right to the tip, child. Went right to the tip. So the tip today, y'all, is a new tip. Okay, like meaning new in our relationship. Because a lot of these have come from decades ago. But the tip today is I'm not gonna be the one to tell me no. I'm not gonna be the one to tell me no. Okay. Baby. And I think it lends to exactly what we're talking about with regard to faith and not leveraging your energy for the negative hypothetical, right? Because the no is the negative hypothetical. Whatever it is that I'm asking for, right? Whatever it is I'm looking for from someone else, deciding that the answer is no before I've actually made the ask is telling me no.
And let me ask you this question, because normally speaking, when we're given the tips, and the tips are again from decades ago, I have the story that goes along with it. Current stuff, girl, I just be saying stuff and somehow you remember them. Do you remember what this situation, what the situation was that brought about, I'm not going to be the one to tell
I
myself no.
cannot. Let me think, because there's been. I feel like there's been so many. Like, and this is the thing. We need to include that when we send the text because I'm like, it's so much going on. But what comes to mind is, what for me, what is most present is the story of me, raising money for real estate, right?
Yep.
So, I am currently in the process of trying to complete a rehab project. We've been working on this rehab for over a year, at this point. All the things that could go wrong have gone wrong, right? Every thing that we put in place in order to be able to allow this to still be okay, even if something went wrong, don't worry about it.
Still going wrong.
It went more wrong. It was more wrong than that. However, our property is still an amazing investment, right? Like, it's still an amazing investment. We just have to get to the end of it. And I am in a place where I have to raise capital. Now, this is not something that I want to do necessarily or am comfortable doing because, one, like we talked about earlier, like, I believe in me. If I have the resources, and usually I'm able to bring my own resources, right? I'm able to bring my own resources 90% of the time, right? Not to mention I'm very independent, so I don't really ask for a lot of help from people. We on our journey for asking for help. At this stage of our lives, we're having to ask for help. And, so for me, having to ask for support, right, from people I do know and people I don't know in order to be able to complete this property, right, so that we can get to the other side, because there's so many dominoes that can happen if we get to the other side, right, is a hard thing. It's a hard thing for me. And in so many ways, I want to just be like, I'm gonna just go figure it out on my own, right? I'm not going to go and actually raise the funds. And I think this tip on I'm not gonna be the one to tell me no is really leaning upon the fact that even as I think about going to ask and get investors involved, in my mind, when I say that I want to just figure it out on my own, I'm trying to avoid the no. Right? I'm trying to avoid the no. And in that, I've already decided that it's a no.
Yes.
Right? And so I'm not going to be the one to tell me no is really like, look, one, don't be afraid of the no. It could be a no, but it could be a yes. It could also be a yes. It could be an absolutely. I've seen that happen before in my life, right? I have evidence. We talked about earlier with regard to faith, evidence of the things unseen. Well, I actually have seen these things, right? So there's evidence that it could definitely be a yes from people who I've known for years, people who I don't know. Just so, however, the thoughts and the feelings make you want to be like, I'm not even going to approach it. And that indeed is me telling me no.
Right. Right. So this is kind of helping you in the spirit of asking for help. You, the general you, by you, I mean we, right?
Yeah.
Like these are all of the yous, right? We're
And
talking to
y'all.
we're talking to you, the listener, we're talking to you ourselves, and we're talking to you,
Right.
the collective us, because we tend to be in the same situation. But in order to get the things that you want out of life, in order to go to the next level, like you're not going to be able to do it by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are as independent as we are, you know, we have learned all the things, we have paid attention to others, and we are used to being the one to make it happen for ourselves. And so getting to this place of asking for help is very uncomfortable. And when we talk about the thoughts that can come about, sometimes you can talk yourself or think yourself out of the solution that you created, right? You will know
Mm-hmm.
what the problem is, you'll know what the answer is, and then you will tell yourself no. And it's like, wait a minute, I can't be the one to tell me no. I need to be
Mm-hmm.
prepared. I understand that there is a possible no out there, but there are also endless possible yeses that could come from it as well. So this is about another confidence, another energy booster that we want you guys to take with you into these difficult situations. It's okay to receive a no from other people. No one has ever died from hearing the word no, right? However, if you tell yourself no, you're not even giving yourself the opportunity to have kind of your faith enacted and become those the evidence of things, you know, unseen. Like you want to be in the space to tell yourself yes, so that then people, you can draw your yeses, right? We always talk about energy.
Mm-hmm.
If my energy is that of a no, then I'm going to be attracting more no's, right?
Yes.
So I have to tell myself yes, so that as I'm going to people and asking for help, that they can meet me with that yes. And of course, there's a possibility that some of those no's may come about, but you attract what you are, right? So if I'm
Mm-hmm.
telling myself no, then I'm going to be attracting a lot more no's because that's the energy that I'm putting out there. So my
Mm-hmm.
thing is, I'm not going to be the one to tell myself no. Like you might tell me no, and then I'll have to go and ask someone else, but I don't want to be the person to ever stop me from getting what I want simply because my thoughts were afraid, my thoughts were limiting, and my thoughts said no. It's like, no, we're going to flip that. I'm going to tell myself yes, and then I'm going to go and align with the people who also want to tell me yes.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking on my notes because I'm thinking about when we talk about the yes, right? Thinking about why you have said yes, right? What are the reasons why you have said yes, right? What are the reasons why you think this is a good solution, right? And really leaning into knowing what they are and loving your reasons for your yes,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because if you love the reasons for your yes, it makes it a lot easier to endure the no's from other people,
Right.
right? Um, and it doesn't feel as scary, right? And I was trying to look up the questions because one of the coaches that I follow, she's a sales coach, and she talks about like, just when you're creating an offer for people, something that you want to sell to them, you have to be sold completely on it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And in order for you to be completely sold on it, you have to know the whys. Like, who is it going to benefit? Right? Why is it going to benefit for them? How is it going to be transformational for their life? Right? Just all of the things. Why did you make it the way you made it? Like every little piece of it. And I think that's important to know. Um, especially in situations where you have a yes and you're hesitant to get the no from somewhere else, right? Um, I think about, from the clients that I work with, moms who are looking to take a getaway, right? A lot of times they're the ones telling themselves no,
Yes.
right? They'll be like, oh, I need a trip. But it's a no because whatever it is, my kids, my husband don't know how to cater. I don't have nobody to watch the kid. I don't have the money. All these no, like just no, 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 no. Um, and sometimes they have decided the no because leaning into the yes is unknown, is scary. There's always at the root, there's fear of the no.
Oh yeah, for
When
sure.
you are telling yourself no, there's always fear at the root, right? And so really getting to understand of like, what are you afraid of? And when I'm talking to you, I'm talking to me. what
Yes.
are you really afraid of in moving forward, right? Because there's a coach that I follow, Brooke Castillo, love her. She talks about how in life, if you can handle and manage any emotion, it that's the main skill, because at the other side of every action is just an emotion,
Mhm.
right? Whether you've asked somebody for help, whether you've been laid off, whether you did or did not sell the thing, whether somebody died, whether somebody cried, whatever it is, there's an emotion that you're going to have. So if you can actually understand and know how to manage any emotion that comes up, then you will be okay. You can continue to just go, right? But the suppression of it, right, or the avoidance of it is the reason why we tell ourselves no, because we haven't got to the point where we can naturally, or we have the what's it called, the skills to be able to handle that emotion,
Mhm.
right? Take it on at face value, work it out. Like for me, I write stuff down. What, why am I feeling all of the things? Like doing that every time to process it, because that's where the suppression and the avoidance comes from. And if you don't need to suppress or avoid, then you can take the no. Like it's like, girl, give me the no. I'm just gonna work through that emotion. It'd be all right. So that's how I have found to be able to not tell myself no, is like, even on the front end, I have to love my reasons why I've said yes. And on the back end, I have to have some sort of tools, whatever it is, to manage my emotion and process my emotion, as opposed to suppressing it, avoiding it, or making somebody else's no mean something catastrophic for
Mhm.
me.
Yeah. So what came up for me, I want to talk about reasons to believe, because from a marketing perspective, right? We talk about the reasons to believe. You can kind of explain, you can prove with like past history. You can give endorsements, people who have already participated in what you're doing.
Mm,
Tell a story. How do you make sure you're differentiating yourself? So those are your reasons to believe. So you are always marketing yourself, right? So I love that.
yes.
But when you talked about the emotion piece, so many of us are trying to avoid disappointment as if it is not a part of the human experience.
Come on.
Right. So that no, on the other side of no is disappointment, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the other side of no, there may potentially be a bit of grief of letting go how you thought this process was going to be. But
Mm-hmm.
especially for the overachievers, we don't like to disappoint anyone, right?
Mm-mm.
We are used to being celebrated because
Keep
we
hand
do all
raised
the
for
things
3
right.
seconds to raise hand.
I don't know why my computer started talking to me, but
Raising a hand.
I hit a button something yesterday and it's been talking to me ever since.
I
I got to figure out how
can't.
to turn this voice control off. But it's telling me all the things that's happening, so I'll keep my hands down. But we are so often trying to avoid disappointment that that's a lot of times where we're telling ourselves no. Like, so
Mhm,
what if it can't happen? Again, these negative thoughts that we talked about when we were talking about your beliefs and faith. What if it doesn't happen? What if, to your point, what if I'm not able to go on the trip? What if my boss says no? What if the project fails? And it's like, and if it does, you can get through that emotion, right? Like,
mhm,
how are you able to process kind of not so positive things happening in your life? Because they're gonna happen, right? Like, no one's, again, we
mhm,
talk about no one's life is like this, where you start here and you go straight up, you learn
mm,
something and you go to the next level. It's up, down, left, right, circle. Like, it's craziness. But you have to be able to navigate through that. You have to be able to push through the disappointment and come up with another solution. Don't tell yourself no. um Allow someone else to do it and know that you can make it through even if they do say no, right? Of course, we're talking about attracting your yes, but then what happens whenever the no comes? Deal with that
right.
emotion, deal with that disappointment, and know that you can continue to move forward, right? So
Mhm,
not taking the step is the thing that keeps you in the same place. Not taking the step and hearing a no, because now you've learned something, you have an additional perspective, you have something further that you can research, you have more information that you now need to pull or be able to provide to people so that you can get to your yes. But your no is simply not moving forward. If you take the step to ask, that it doesn't matter what the other person said, you've already taken a step forward.
mhm.
So please be okay, learn to be okay with disappointment. Know that you can navigate through it. You will live, you will make it to the other side of disappointment, and it'll get you one step closer to whatever it is that you're working towards.
Mm-hmm. That is so true. Disappointment is a very hard emotion, child. It is a very hard emotion to process, especially when you're an overachiever and you are in a space where you haven't had to endure much disappointment in your life.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like, when I was in grad school, that was the turning point where it was like, honey, get ready for the disappointments, boo. Here they come. Like, but it took that long for me to really like have to experience disappointment on more than one occasion in a year. Really. Like, really. That's how, the school system be having us set up, because if you are academically gifted, baby, you're not ready for life for real, unless you had something outside. You ain't, because you do feel like your life will go like this.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, for
Because that's
sure.
what happens. It's a stair step.
Exactly. Yep. For 13 years plus 4, like
Yes.
just
Like,
keep moving forward. Yeah.
I'm like, honey, we on our way. Let's just keep going. Life said, no, ma'am. Okay.
And it's how that disappointment can come from different places, right? For you, it was grad school. For me, it was divorce, right? Like, what do you mean I'm not going to be happily married, happily ever after, live happily ever after?
Right.
Like, that's not how my life works, right? And so
Right.
to be in this point where like I had to overcome that disappointment, child, your little no don't mean nothing. Let me tell you. Because when you have these large, major, life-shifting, identity-altering disappointments, it really helps you build up that muscle. Not to say that, like, I don't sometimes run for disappointment too, but I have the experience to know that, like, I'll live, I'll make it through on the other side, and I can still thrive, be happy, be successful, even in the face of disappointment. So it can come from anywhere. It can come from your job. It can come from your childhood. Like, but at some point, disappointment it's gonna hop on you. Just know that you'll be able to make it through.
And don't tell yourself no just because of the disappointment. One of the things I was just reading was a question. It made me think about when my first coach. It said, where might they struggle? Like, what are some of the most common struggles, fall offs, or fails? And it was talking about like when you're creating an offer for your clients, understand where they're going to struggle with it, like what, how they might struggle, how they might fall off, and how they might fail. But I think with regard to what we're talking about, it's important to know that about yourself. Right? For me, I know that disappointment is going to be an emotion, even just asking for help, and then somebody saying no, because I don't even ask for help. Number one. Like, so
You
if somebody
used to
saying,
not. Formerly, you did.
exactly, my previous self didn't ask.
Yeah.
So and also, and that was mostly because I feel like I need help. Now I know that I've been needed help. I should have asked for that. Like,
long time ago.
Long time ago.
Asking for help.
Actually. Okay. So I know for me, like, there's gonna be thoughts of, am I doing the right thing? Right? Should I have reached out to them? Like, just questioning myself, right, based on their response. And I think knowing that that is one of my that is going to be a struggle for me. I need to prepare for that. Like, I remember when I had my first coach, she would be like, back in the day when I was shifting from, being single, sexy free INEZ to new mother, new wife, all the things all in 1 year, right? And I used to have a list of things to do every day, like with like 15 things to do. So my coach made me reduce it down to 5, right? And I was like, girl, this is crazy. 5? Okay. And she was like, and I need you to allow yourself to feel accomplished if you do 3 of them. I'm like, okay. And if you don't get to 3, right, what can you expect? What are some of the things before we even get there that are going to be potential hindrances for you to get to 3? What are going to be your struggles? What are the potential failure points that are coming? So you can think about them now, and how are you going to manage them when they come? So whether if they come or not, you're ready, right? And so I know I need to take that tool, right, and implement it in this space as well, because there will be no's, There will be people who are just like, oh my gosh, like this is horrible, right? Their emotion will almost supersede my emotion in some way, right? But I need to know these things so that I can prepare for them now, and it helps me to manage it better then, as opposed to only expecting the best. So still expect the best, but also know that the no may come and prepare for the no too, mostly so that I can manage myself ahead of time and I know exactly what to go to so I can move on to the next thing as quickly as possible.
And it ties back to those beliefs that you have, right? Because if you believe that things are supposed to be easy for you, when it gets hard, you won't be able to make it through. But if you believe that you are capable, right, that you can make it through anything, then that shifts your perspective when something different happens. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really about kind of tweaking those beliefs, and making sure that your belief isn't setting you up for emotional failure or emotional disappointment.
Right.
Because yeah, if you think it's supposed to be easy, if you think the first time you ask somebody for, $50,000, you're supposed to get a yes, then the fear of not getting that, you don't have the belief system to support asking, right? But if you say,
Mm-hmm.
I know that I may have to ask 50 times to get to my yes, but it will be worth it. If that is your
Mm-hmm.
belief, then the first failure, the second failure, it's not as hard. And it may take the 20, but guess what? You got, 30 more fails that you were prepared for. So
Mm-hmm.
allowing yourself to prepare, allowing space in your life for disappointment, allowing space for the no's, but not being the one to say no to yourself is really kind
Mm-hmm.
of the balance, that we're
Mm-hmm.
to create for
Yes,
ourselves.
y'all.
Hope that you can create too.
Let me tell you. And it's funny because this usually the tip end up coming from Z, y'all. She said something, and we be like, "Oh, that's a tip."
Yeah.
That right there, like, so yeah, on this one, like, just I'm not gonna be the one to tell me no is a declaration of like I am going to have the faith to take the next step, right? We were talking about faith, like I'm gonna be the one to have the faith to take the next step regardless of what's on the other side of the next step, right? Because I was just watching a video last night and he was talking about how, you know, um, there's a promise on our life, right? There's a promise on our life. And there's also a promise that has been given to us. Like I know for a fact that when we went on this journey for our property, the promise is we are going to be financially free. We're going to be the first financially free people in my family. That's the promise. Like
Right.
that's the promise, right? And it's out here. It's out here, right? But what he said was the enemy has been given permission to give you a problem.
Mm.
He has given permission to give you a problem because God wants you to be able to still focus on the promise even in the presence of a problem.
Come on,
Come on.
people.
So he said that the promise is out here and the problem is right here. So he wants you to peek through the problem. Right? So you can remember it's a promise over there. So because you saw the promise first,
Right.
right? But he said he wants you to do that, but the enemy wants you to focus on the problem.
Mhm.
He wants you to think you can't even see the promise. It's gone. Like I can't even see it, and where the problem is ever present,
Mhm.
right? And so he's like, no, like you have to focus on the promise. Figure out the problem. Don't forget about it. And so for me, like in this time, that word was so on time because it's like it's so many problems. Like, hello, there's
Yes.
so many problems. However, I need to refocus on the promises, and I think that saying I'm not going to be the one to tell me no is focusing on the promise, right?
Mhm.
I'm not going to be the one to tell me no because I know the promise, right? So
Right.
maybe it's not coming from you. Maybe you're not going to be the one to help me. Maybe it's not you, but somebody is because I know the promise.
There we go. So please comment, let us know, how have you told yourself no in the past, and what are you going to do to not tell yourself no any further? We'd love to
Yes,
hear from you.
please do, y'all. Please do. Make sure y'all join us again in 2 weeks for the tip on top of the tip.